So Claudia, now I have Rita here with me. We look here, but she's there. But anyway, so you this is
ladies and gentlemen.
Is this the right Rita? The one that you had? You never know. Okay, so let's keep the surprise. Let's keep the surprise. So what we'll do here, guys, we will. Well, I don't know exactly where to look, but I'll look here. People say that I'm in a nightclub.
Look to the audience.
I feel that I'm in Las Vegas in a nightclub. But anyway, so the introduction is going to be very informal, Claudia. I have to tell these guys here that, well, of course, I met Claudia was our president of AIS for quite some time, so that's the Claudia that I knew before. And last year, Sam, where's Sam? Sam's gone to coffee. Sam's gone back to coffee, Claudia. So, but I guess that she's already seen part of your presentation at least, right? But Sam was organizing this conference, or organizing an IS conference for the north of Africa and the Arabic countries last year. And I saw this presentation of Claudia there, and she was, of course, talking about artificial intelligence, that is her field of expertise. And I sort of, at the end, we exchanged a few emails because I had the same concern. Sam is back. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had the same concern as the director of our campus today, that many times we use our technology in ways that we don't feel that we are in control any longer, to some extent. And then Claudia and I were discussing that in a few emails that we exchanged, and I said, in which ways can we use artificial intelligence to help us build a more humane world? Considering that this is the theme of our conference here, we thought that it would be appropriate if we discuss that. So I invited Claudia. Claudia, well, thank you very much for having accepted the challenge, and she will be here with us today to talk about that topic, information systems for a more humane world, when data and artificial intelligence hit the human brain. Claudia, the floor is yours. We're all here to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody in Brazil. Here it's afternoon. I know for you it is early morning. I hope you've had your coffee and can handle about half an hour, 40 minutes, hopefully with some fun. The slides and my words will be in English, but don't worry, there's only one slide with a lot of words, and they will go away anyway. The rest is little words, and I'm sure you all get the message if you bear. So, fitting your conference theme, I titled this talk as Information Systems for a More Humane World. That's your part, and then when data and artificial intelligence. They are kind of together, but they're not the same. When they meet the human brain. Because talking alone is very boring, I decided to, let's see if this works, to also feature some colleagues that you know. That's the beauty of being far away, they cannot run it. Usually they would kill me by now, but that's going to be later the case. Okay, so let's first try to find out what, in this case, I mean by data and artificial intelligence. So let's talk about data. I think what is new in data, or pretty new, it's 5 years old or something, is that we have a lot more data than we used to have. And this is the slide with a lot of words. No need to read it all. The only message is we have more and more data, and we have also so-called unstructured data. You know this much better than I do. Lots of examples. They're just listed here. We don't need to go through them. By the way, I did not expect to live transcribe this Zoom session. Some users asked me, I said no, which would be another stream of data, right? So everything, every phone call, every movement of the clouds, everything is data. So we have a lot of data, and the question is, what do we do as a society with all this extra data? And that, I think, is one way what we do with it, is label it on artificial intelligence. And so that brings us to the question, what do I mean by artificial intelligence? I think we have, I don't know, we have a lot of audience, a lot of members in the audience. Let's say there's 50 members in the audience, then I have 60 understandings of AI, artificial intelligence. There is no agreement. It doesn't matter, but we need to keep this in mind. And so where we seem to agree, I hope, I don't know about you guys, is that AI has to do something with algorithms and something with data. Big data or a lot of data. Actually, the big data is very small, but lots of small data. And then some people say that today, with artificial intelligence, machines can also understand and interpret and learn. Machines can learn, stupid people, and interact. I'm not sure that machines can do that, but that's one of these understandings where we go to machine learning. The term has the word learning set. I'm not so sure. But there's two things I would like to mention on this one slide. One is the Turing test. Turing was a professor in the last century, in 1950, 70 years ago. He said, artificial intelligence is when we, the users, do not realize that we talk to a machine. Right? When we do not realize that at the other end, there is a machine. That is good artificial intelligence, according to Turing, 70 years ago. Now if you make a phone call and you have an answering machine or one of these endless loops, they sound like humans, but you hear pretty well that it is a machine. You call, I don't know, an airline or ticket reservation or something like that. So Turing's requirements were pretty high. And the next one that I would like to briefly mention is IBM's Watson. IBM is a company that we all know, and Watson is a computer they built, which is now used in many, many instances. But originally, IBM built this computer for playing Jeopardy. And there, I don't know if you have Jeopardy in Brazil and under a different name. So, you guys all know what Jeopardy is? Alex is nodding, the others I don't know. But it's a quiz show where the yeah, just say loud again.
No, I was just explaining to the audience here, the Brazilian ones.
Yeah, but maybe also too, if you have a Brazilian name for it.
No, I don't know exactly the name for Jeopardy, but it's one of, we have this guy on TV that mimicked it, so it was not Jeopardy, it was Silvio Santos.
Yeah, but it came out like, anyway, so the idea of Jeopardy is the quiz show, and the interesting thing is that the moderator gives the answer, and the candidates have to phrase the question. So different from most quiz shows. And why is this interesting? Because phrasing the question is much more demanding in terms of using computers than finding the answer. For example, if I ask you, when did the United States become independent? Then it's pretty easy for a computer to say 1776. Right? So whatever number is, that's pretty quick to Google. But if I'm in American history column and I say 1776, the candidates will have to phrase, when did the United States become independent? For example, whatever the example is. So for a computer, that's much more demanding in terms of semantics. Anyway, they have a daily show in the United States, and we also have it in different countries. But in the United States, they run years long a daily show. They have a daily winner out of three candidates, one winner. Then they have a weekly winner, then they have a monthly winner, and then very big part of the show, they have an annual winner. That's a hero in the United States. It's a guy who wins the quiz show. And then IBM, let's play Watson, the computer, against this annual winner, against this national hero, quote unquote. And what do you expect? The IBM Watson wins. And that we say, well, and by the way, IBM says it costs about $40 million US to build this Watson machine. So you think, building a computer for $40 million that wins a quiz show where you can gain 100,000 seems to be a bad deal. Right? That doesn't seem to make much sense. But what IBM achieved with this is that the public, the general citizen in the United States, those who watch the quiz shows, so not you guys, not these intellectual professors and PhDs, no, normal people, they say, wow, the computer is better than my quiz hero. That's the real story behind it. And then today, this was 8, 9, 10 years ago, and today they ask for a Watson in medical diagnosis, in legal underwriting. Now you can train this computer to do a lot of other things. And the users, the patients, the customers, they want the machine. It's not the shop saying we are better than the machine. No, they say we want this artificial intelligence. And in that sense, that's the cheapest marketing IBM has ever done for a premium kind of computer. It changes something, you have Watson everywhere. So there are different versions of what a machine needs to be able to do to be AI. I don't think we all agree, but I hope we agree that AI, artificial intelligence, has to do something with machines and with cognitive, with what we do between our ears. And that's good enough. Whatever technique, weak or strong AI, machine learning, deep AI, let's leave it for the next short time. And the next of the slides are all much, much weaker. So this was the only slide with a lot of words. And it's a lot of words. So I hope by now we agree that there's a lot of digital stuff out there, there's a lot of information systems out there, there's a lot of robots out there which are not AI. Not all computers are AI. But what I guess you have also worked with before, all AI needs a lot of data. Why? Because somebody needs to train the machine. We do not need much data to use AI, but we need a lot of data, millions of data sets to train the machine. That's why we don't have them really in entrepreneurship, but we have them more generally. Are you still with me?
Yeah.
So the question then is, if we have some joint understanding for the next half hour or so what AI is, the question is it good or bad for the world? Is it good or bad for human work? And to give you the final clue, I think it's a bit of both. But for sure, AI can also get tricky. And so now I show you 3 phases in a minute, 30 seconds. And all of you at the machines or in the room, try to decide which of the 3 phases is a real photo and which 2 phases did we do artificially. Phase number 1, photo or artificially created. Phase number 2, photo or artificially created. And phase number 3, photo or artificially created. Now I see the people sitting in the room in the conference. So who thinks number 1 is a photo? Just the guys in the room, raise your hands. I don't see you, but make it clear so I see. Who thinks number 1 is a photo? Okay, Sam, who thinks number 2? Who thinks number 3? Okay. Okay, some hands go up also in the virtual audience. It was a quick game. The solution is all 3 of them are done artificially. None of them is a photo. So, love it or hate it, of course it's a bit of a trying to wake you up. All 3 of these photos are completely, these people do not exist. There was not even a photo to start with, which was changed a bit. But it's completely artificially done. And even if you go to a good machine and have a good quality of pictures, you do not see it. I think that's the whole idea. So the method is, we can create content artificially, so-called synthetic content. And it's going to be, it is already and will be more and more difficult to see that this is not real content, this is synthetic content. We don't see. And the more effort I make, the less you see. Right? If I do it very quickly, you see it, but if it's larger, we don't see it. And that's something in all our jobs, in all our settings, academia, real life, children, old people, wherever we are, politics, it's a tricky situation. If we don't see anymore if we do not know any longer whether it is true what we see. FBI, is this United States agency that is pretty concerned. And now these are pictures, we can also go a bit further. You guys know who that is? Not the 2 in the first row, but all the others? Anybody? Any suggestion? Do we hear anything? We don't hear anything. That's a famous painter from Spain by the name of Salvador Dali. Or Dali, depends how you pronounce it. Maybe some of you have heard about the person. It's a 20th century painter, pretty famous, and with his face and idea, he just made some. Unfortunately, he died 20 years ago. However,
but there is one thing that makes me different. I do not believe in my death. Do you?
So, this guy was first dead, and then we let him say this. Okay? It's a real picture. He never said this sentence himself. Some people who play with the computers let him say this. Died 89 before all these machines and doing it now. Again, it's more a gimmick, it's a fun piece, if you wish, for somebody who's dead and doesn't say anything really serious. But it's easy to see that we can do the same phenomenon also for people who are alive, people who we put very bad words into their mouths. And then it gets tricky. And again, same as before, I think we will experience more and more situations where we cannot know anymore, or we do not know anymore whether something is real or something is fake, deep fake, synthetic content. And I mean, for those who teach, this is tricky. For those who do research, this is tricky. And here we just show it with a painter who, at least in Europe, apologies for South America, is pretty well known. And he has this funny way of looking and talking. So it's something where it's just trying to show what we can do. And everybody knows, or believe me, you don't have to know, but believe me, this guy was dead before the technology was invented. So we really did it. Somebody really did it after his death. Okay, so if we agree on there's some tricky parts in AI, let's also get serious on two notes. One is, I do think that this kind of AI, and especially a lot of data that we talked about at the beginning, would lead to what I call a real management revolution. Management, because I'm from a business school, and basically what a business school does is teaching management, or trying to teach management. So if something really changes, that's interesting. And the revolution, if you look it up in your history books or in some dictionaries, a revolution is not something very new. A revolution is something where you change the power structure. So the king was gone and the slaves run the country, or whatever.
Boy. What for men? Let's see.
So that's what a revolution tends to be, and where I think AI and especially lots of data will lead to. It's not a fancy new phenomenon. It's not making deepfake, but it changes, it revolutionizes management, it changes the power structure of management. This is, of course, very European in many ways, because when we learn English in high school, we have to learn this difficult word for this animal. I don't know if you have the same English teaching books in Brazil, but this animal is not just a hippo, it's a hippopotamus, which is kind of what kids like to learn and enjoy to learn and do all these things. And I think in the management world, we used to have hippos. We have hippos all around. And now, with this new technology, we get rid of these hippos and we have artificial intelligence and big data and all these things that you know I talk about. Apps, recommending systems, databases, whatever it is. So I think we go away from the hippos and we go to using these technologies. Why is this interesting? If it's interesting, because the hippo is not only an animal, but it's also the highest paid person's opinion. Okay? This is not my use of the abbreviation, it's by the gentleman from the MIT, McAfee and Van Olsen, but I like the idea of the hippos as being the highest paid person's opinion. If there are any deans or rectors in the room, well, you know them. At the end of the day, in the old world, they make the decision. We have a lot of committees, we sit together in working groups. At the end of the day, it's the hippo in the old world, in this still existing world, that makes the decision. And now, with all this data that is around, much more data than we used to have, I think it will be more the people who have the data that make the decisions. It is very difficult to decide against the data. For example, if you have a job opening and you have 50 people applying, or 500 or 5,000, I don't care. Today we feed this into databases and we run some algorithms, and somebody comes with a printout for the iPad and says, well, these are the top 5 candidates according to our system, our algorithm. And if the data is clear, it's very hard for the hippo to say, but I think I like Mrs. X better than Mr. Y. it's very difficult to argue against the data situation. And that's why we talk about AI and big data changing the decision making, driving decision making towards the data and leading us to have something like data-driven decision making, which is different from the hippo's intuition. So I think it changes a lot, and if students come to a lot of data, as a professor, there's not much you can say against it. If colleagues come, the dean cannot much say against it. You come with a story, I think it's always the thing. So that's one effect of big data. This is big data and AI, but a lot on big data. And now there's another one, so we can stay serious for a little time after DALIs and Watsons and so on. The question is, in addition to changing management, to leading to a management revolution. So the previous one, I think, this is really something. This is all we teach in management programs is making decisions. In supply, in marketing, in finance, in HR, wherever we are. And what this slide basically says and wants you to think about is maybe the data situation shapes the decision making. This is major. Different topic, job markets in general. In general, there's this kind of figure which says, also it's not mine, but it's very broadly used. We have a lot of employment in high-skilled jobs. We have a lot of employment in low-skilled jobs. A lot of people doing low-skilled tasks and jobs. And we have lost a lot of jobs already in the middle level of skills. So semi-skilled people, there we have a lot of computers doing things. From assembly lines, building cars, to computers writing dictates, or replacing, I don't know, secretaries, or whatever it is. So I guess this picture has been there for a long time. And then the question is, what does technology do? In the beginning I said, I think computers, AI, have to do with cognitive tasks, with what we do between our ears. And you guys know much better than I do that for a lot of routines, we have had computers for a long time. We have anything that you do again and again, we have machines doing it. Laundry machines, production machines, all kinds of machines. If something is cognitive but always the same, we also have machines. I don't know, typing, Excel, I mean, it's simple things, but it's routine work, you can program it, and it does always the same. In the non-routine things, we use a lot of humans. In the manual work, these are these, I don't know if you see my mouse, but these are these guys here in the manual world, right? A lot of low-skilled people, or people who do low-skill needing jobs. I don't know how clever and skilled people are. Things to do with your hands. In the cognitive side, we also think that the computers cannot really help us if it's non-routine. Medical diagnosis, driving cars, managing others, running companies, legal advice, all these things. And what we see now with AI is that the boundary between routine and non-routine, that's becoming less clear. Because we all know that there are some self-driving cars out there. They are not yet very popular, not very big, but they are there. And they are not very clever, but they make all the possibilities of a traffic situation a possible routine-ish task. Right? So they just have all the options, and that's how they do. We know that machines play chess and win. I told you earlier that machines play Jeopardy and win. And from driving, whatever you believe, how fast it will come, we know that some of these things or tasks can be done by machines. We never thought so. We never thought 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we never thought that a machine can drive a car or whatever in a traffic situation. And yes, we are not there yet, and I do not want to discuss driving or automatic driving, but the idea that this becomes possible is something where, of course, we have a problem with our jobs. Machines more and more take over cognitive tasks. or can take over. And if that's the case, then of course the high skilled level jobs or high skilled level tasks will be done also by machines, which means we will need less people. Bad news, but in my thinking, just the way it is. This does not necessarily mean that we have less jobs, because a lot of new jobs will come. A lot of new jobs will come. So the equation we don't know, but many jobs that we have right now in the cognitive fields will be replaced, or at least heavily replaced by computers. So far, I think, two main things. One is decision making will change because data will drive the decision making, and skill levels will play a different role in jobs. High skill jobs will be replaced. So if you think about what AI and big data analytics will do, they will, and I am shortened this here, but I'm so happy that you give me 45 minutes of your time. A lot of examples where machines give individuals, you and me, you still see the picture, the slide?
Yep.
Could somebody nod or say something? Do you see it? Okay, thanks. Because I have like up here. So we empower the people, we empower the organizations to use technology for competitive advantage. Business School 101. We certainly increase efficiency. And for those of you who studied a little bit of economics, we also destroy the economic rent. If you don't study economics, forget that great part. It's a sad story, forget it. It's Monday morning, have with it. But it's something that is not so nice in competition. The more data we use, the less privacy we will have. Because either you use the data or you keep it private. Maybe you don't use your data, but only other people's data, but it doesn't go together. You can't have transparency and privacy at the same time. You cannot make use of data, even if you aggregate the data, and also think it's very private. If you encrypt data, a lot of companies sell encryption tools. Somebody needs to be able to decrypt, otherwise stop wasting your time. And again, I think good and bad news, I just think we need to know. We need to deal with it. Job loss, job creation, again, I don't know. But I'm very positive. I think that we will create more jobs than we lost. We have done that in the past. A lot of new technologies came in, killed a lot of jobs, and in total, we created more jobs than we have. But what do I know? Brings me to two kind of almost concluding sentences, which I take from the literature. And I think these are very important when you also go to your own industry, would it be academia, PhD, research, teaching, publications, but also in the real world. We see it, and there's a guy by the name of Clay Shirky from New York University, who said in 2008, long time ago, 2008. We see it, the digitization, the big data, today I think the AI, we see it everywhere, but we close our eyes in our own profession. It hits them, but not us. Right? We see it everywhere, but not in our own profession. So I think he's very true, and he's very correct. This is a very true statement, sorry. When I talk to my university people, they say, no, we teach differently, but no, not university, no, PhD courses, no, never, okay? But we go out and do consulting to, I don't know, banking and tourism and manufacturing, and we say, watch it, there will be AI and it will change something, not for us. So I think Shirky was very right. And the other thing he says, I think is also right. It is easier to accept that you face competition than to accept that you face obsolescence. Obsolescence in, I don't know the Portuguese word, but means to be outdated, to be old guy, to be old fashioned. I think the word could be similar in Portuguese as to the English one. And it's true, I mean, if there's somebody else who's better than you are, we can face and we struggle and we compete. But to see that the youngsters just do things in a way, this is so different that the older ones don't contribute much anymore, or are told not to contribute much anymore, I think that's mentally and emotionally much harder. So, Shirky said this in 2008, but I think it's still very valid and very important. And I come back to that in 2 slides. Again, it happens everywhere, and none of us likes to see that we are outdated. None of us likes to see that the way we do it is not the way they will do it in the future. We know it, we want innovation, but not for me, not in my job. So discussion takeaways, I think AI and big data are here to stay. They will not go away. And they will also not go away in IS research, in publications. Who knows where machines can help us to publish, to collect the data, to write the text, to do the research, and also in teaching. How much can we automate? We all know examples. It's not in my course, but other courses are brilliant. As I tried to say in the beginning, I think it will change our understanding of reality. What do we believe? What do we trust? And I also think it will partially substitute high-skilled jobs. So this is my sad message of the afternoon, or the morning, or the afternoon. Coming back to Turkey, no sector, no group, no part of society should underestimate the momentum, the speed. And perhaps it's good idea for doing research to go back to the older literature, where people thought about different technologies and their impacts, and then to translate or transfer this to today's technology and today's scenario. So here is just one slide with a bit of self-marketing. 2 papers a long time ago, 2013 and 2015, which some co-authors kindly did with me along these lines. And also, again, a book which my students need to study all the time. Turkey 2008, Here Comes Everybody. That was the introduction of social media to the world. I think it's so true. And doing research is not about hitting the newest technology. Doing research to me is about thinking what's changing fundamentally or conceptually. And another book that I like to show is the one by Ray Kurzweil. He's now Chief Technology Officer at Google. He used to be professor at the MIT in Boston or Cambridge, Massachusetts. And here, in this time, 2012, he was not yet at Google. He writes about rebuilding the brain and how tricky, difficult it is. So that's, I think, something to think about. 2013, 2008, 2012. Your job, my job, to take these general thoughts and see what today's technology does with that. So this is the old stuff. I'd like to close with a more forward-looking line of thought. I think there's a lot of options where AI will also help us to make things better. There's a lot of work to do, both in the real world and in academia. So both in research, in teaching, and out there. And I think we also need to learn that when it becomes cognitive, we need to work together with psychologists, neurologists, and certainly also economists. So there's a lot of other things we can do. So I think there's a lot of hope there. I think it needs you guys in your research, because I'm absolutely convinced there is no AI without human brains. We cannot do this. So with that, I hope, well, my main message for the last half hour, 45 minutes was, be aware of what's out there. Be aware. I invite you to be aware. To come up with your opinion. Don't believe everything I say, it's all bullshit. But start thinking along some general lines. Okay? And then you can hopefully agree with the guys who met this morning and this afternoon.
Non, rien de rien. Non, 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 rien de rien. Non,
Okay, and if you imagine with me that you don't regret anything, and to see how easy it is to fake things.
You know, Claudia, the technology is tricking us because it's a little slower. The images are a little slower than the voice, but we understand the message.
That because I heard it back from you, but, and you also have this because my sound was on and your sound was on. But I can tell you it works pretty well if you do it directly on the machine. And it says the end of the year, so we hope that you don't regret what happened. And then if we all agree that we can do a lot of things with this technology, we can lead this transition. There will be transitions, but let's lead it and let's be at the forefront of it. With that, I'd like to thank all of you, especially my two singers, of course, and open up for discussion if you want. Thank you.
Okay, Claudia, while people are still framing their questions here, I just want to express one concern. You said, I do believe that the new technologies will generate more jobs than they will kill. And then I was thinking, gee, haven't the technologies that we have developed so far already generated a lot more work than we used to have before? I'm only concerned that we generate more work instead of more jobs, because we are all overloaded with work. It seems the more technology we end up using. That's my impression. I don't know if you have any take on that.
That's a very good take. And yes and no. I think, yes, we're all overloaded with work because we are so important and we are so clever and, you know. Overall, I'm not so sure. I think, you know, when the cars replaced the horses and the horse riders and so on, we lost a lot of work. And today also, we save a lot of work, let's say this way. And I think different kind of jobs come on. Now, if you are so popular, Alex, that you do it all in your same hands and brain, then it's more work. But in most cases, you would expect that somebody else does the AI-based or data-based work. So I'm not sure we create so much more work, where work has a negative connotation, but I do think we create a lot more jobs. We can do so many things, and it has always been the way. I mean, we will lose jobs, which will be sad for individuals and families, etc. But I think we create more than we will have lost. So I don't know. Now, my job is probably to look at great singers. Thank you. Thank you. I will send you the slide. I look at the chat. And the Oscar goes to Alexandra and Rita. So, I mean, you get it. You guys are winning the game here.
Right. It seems that Valdemar has a question over there.
Well, I don't know. Is it possible to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, at some point you said that the computers are starting to perform more cognitive tasks, like diagnosis or something like that. And so I thought that maybe the right part of that plot would also be lower, maybe, because if the computers are becoming start to be able to perform complex tasks, so maybe even the complex jobs could also be lost, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the physical part, in the physical tasks, so to say, we already have a lot of machines. Whenever these tasks are doing the same all the time, and go to agriculture, go to car manufacturing. I think everybody used to it. And the one jobs we still have, well, we have a lot of jobs left, but are these non-routine-ish, service-oriented, using your hands, manual jobs. There's a lot of jobs out there. And they have to be done in a certain place, right? While this one here, which is a cognitive job, I can do it in Europe and use it in Brazil. Think about what that saves in terms of coffee, but also in terms of other things, right? I think there's the situation. And yes, I agree, we will also replace more and more low-skilled jobs. But again, we will find more things to do. We will have more computers in elderly homes, kindergartens, and none of us wants to think that it's a machine that's serving either the little kids or us when we get old and sick, but I think it's going to be there. So, very good point. Maybe I need to redraw the slides, but I like to start with this idea of the bathtub, which has been there forever. And usually, I give you one, if I may, one other thought on this. Usually I use the slides which you refer to with the bathtub and say, or the bathtub usually says we need to push education because we have these high-skilled jobs. We need to push education, push education, push education, which any professor and teacher in the world would agree with. But then actually, if we don't need the high-skilled people to this degree because their jobs can be done by computers, then I also start to question my own argument. So, long talking, no real answer, you're right.
Thank you.
Other questions? And maybe there's also the people that are... do you want to hit that one?
No, maybe people on Zoom, if they have some question.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at the chat, and the chat was mainly applauding the singers. So.
Okay. Thank you, Claudia, for revealing our secret that we are very famous singers. Thank you.
You all got those too we have here.
They should wait and see me playing the harmonica instead of
We'll have a show in the
I
end.
need to follow and then I can do.
Claudia, my question is about teaching. Because how to insert this discussion in our information systems course? Because sometimes it's very hard to initiate some discussion in this direction because students are very attracted in these technologies and how to develop and programming languages, and when we try to talk about it, oh, this is not for computer people, and here I have students from first period, and I would like you to send them a message that what I'm trying to do it's very important for their future. If you could do this, please.
How much do we pay?
A show. I can give you a show.
That's right. Well, I do think it's good, and it's the way it ought to be, that young students, early students, are excited about the possibilities and try to develop. So there, I would not be so critical as you are, Rita. I think you need to be excited to try to understand, to wish to understand. Otherwise, you just let it go. And I think there's a lot of technologies out there that we all use and we do not understand. Right? I mean, if you push the remote control on your TV, you know which button you push to get a certain program. That's easy. But how it happens that all of a sudden, by pushing a little thing on your remote control, you get a different picture on your TV set, not many of us understand. Some engineers do, mostly don't. So in that sense, I think it's very good if people get excited and try to develop and do things. And to help you in a way, Rita, I think all your students, they also have a private life. They also live in a society and will live and do live where they need to think about, we ought to think about, what will change. If then the student comes to the conclusion, not much will change, fair enough, no problem. If they expect something to change, I think your students will win because they think about it early. I think let's be aware. And we need to think through a little bit to be aware. So what I have a course on the master level where we think about the impacts of artificial intelligence on journalism. So I have professionals of media management, so I work a lot on the media sector. I don't do health, I don't do manufacturing. So I think it's worthwhile thinking through, and what I tell my students in this master level course is I do not have the correct answer, but I get paid for asking the questions. And eventually I think students and colleagues see it the same way. Whatever answer you give them today is going to be outdated 3 years from now when they graduate and change the first job. But I think the impact of this combination, big data and AI, is bigger than the impact of an assembly line or the impact of PowerPoint or the impact of medical machines in hospitals, etc. The other machines are much stronger, they do much more in a certain field. But what we see here is I think it'll be there and we do not really notice. So that's kind of the private personal life of the students. In terms of being a student in IS, you pick the right field. I think a lot of things will change, and be open-minded. Some of them will build these things in the near future. Others will not be the ideal programmers, and they will go out to any industry or part of society and have an understanding on how to use it. Brilliant. I like to take it, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We have.
You have
Can I ask one more question from the chat?
Sure.
Okay. So whoever is it, Andre Flair. I like your comment about power and who owns the data. Could you please share your views on how the choice on what data from specific people you use could influence the power of critical decisions in information systems? For example, you get that. For example, choosing deliberately or not to not dig into data from specific social groups that are not so readily available and could be excluded. Okay, so I'd like to rephrase the question as I understand it, and I hope I get it. I think Andre asks my views on the impact that comes from choosing the data with which we work. I think whoever you hit really the hammer on the nail. Shitty data in, shitty data out. This is a very long story, but I think it gets more and more important in the AI world because we as users of AI, we don't see with which data this AI was trained. And if you have a bias in the training data, you will have a bias in what AI suggests. That's just logic. I mean, you don't even need to be a student for that, right? So if you have a bias in the training data that the programmer or the people who do the develop do not see as a bias, but the users feel that it is a bias, we start having problems. And I think exactly as, if I understand the question correctly, it's so important that we understand who makes the AI, who offers the data, according to which criteria somebody selects the data. When we later on feel it natural that certain output is provided. I give you a very easy example, very easy. The non-easy ones are the ones with human beings. But I give you one about the weather. We all have a weather app on our phones. Or use the weather app every now and then, or check what's the weather tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. And yes, maybe you have a weather app that has worked the last couple of months and it works, but you trust it. You trust that some meteorologists have looked into the clouds and the winds and whatever, and you trust that if it says it's going to rain tomorrow, it's going to rain tomorrow. If you are in agriculture, you may be needing a better, more professional weather app, because it's more crucial that we have precise input. But if somebody wants to fool you, you would not know this for a long time. If I just suggest it's never going to rain again in Brazil, or always going to rain in Brazil, or whatever. Black and white. So, and I think it's the same thing on the data we collect on people. Machines know AI without human brains, and humans are biased. And we have our machines, our algorithms have consequences. And there, I also have 2 PhD students on here, so they know my story. We have intended consequences. Somebody wanted to move us to a certain direction. And unintended consequences, shit happened. But we also have intended consequences. The ones who program these things have a lot of power and impact. So, I don't know, I don't have an answer, but I asked my students what they think is more important, the data or the algorithm. And of course, the answer is we don't know. But I think you hit really the hammer on the nail. It's one of these. So, yeah, I don't have an answer, but I think that's one of these things we want to get through this be aware. Be aware where decision-making changes, be aware where job or tasks will change or grow or go away. But also be aware as a private person, working or at home, what kind of AI or technology will have an impact on your life. It will not go away, even if you do not like it. I'm absolutely convinced. Somebody likes it, that's why it's there. So the best we can do is try to understand it. And then I think it's a cool technology that we can do a lot of things. So, we're still on the fingers, let me see. How can we think about the impact of social networks in empowering AI? Long story short, I do not think that we need social networks to empower AI. I don't think we need to empower AI. I hate to be so negative. I think AI is going to be very, very empowered by itself. The trick will be to balance it. And I think social networks are there to get all of us involved, get all of us aware. But again, there's not only good news on social networks. There's intended and unintended use of social networks. So, did I get them all? No, there's one more. I don't know if you want me to talk or want me to stop. I have one more on chat. But I don't think you see the chat,
no,
right?
No, we don't see the chat from here. So
yeah,
I mean, we only see when the message pops there.
Yeah, it's sent to all, but you don't see it. Because you don't see your chat screen. But I can read one more by Loebbecke, however you pronounce this word. My question is about regulation and laws concerning ethical AI development and use. Do you see in the near future that the GDPR or other EU hard laws can make developers be compliant with ethical AI-based systems? Same as before. I think EU laws are making a visible effort. I think it's better to have some laws than not to have the laws. At the same time, I think and hope that especially those, you say if you're aware of it, then you know that they cannot control law. In general, our laws against the Googles, Amazons, Facebooks, Metas, etc. I'm not so sure who is more clever, the lawmaker or the big companies. So I think we need to demand from ourselves that we are aware, and if we dislike it, take a step. So, simple version, people who complain in their personal and non-professional life, who complain about Facebook and all these bad things and the bubbles and all these things we have and the biases in terms of gender and racism and so on, but then upload their next birthday party videos to Facebook or Meta, I don't get it. If you want to play, fair enough, enjoy and have fun, but be aware what it does. And don't blame others who want to play if you think it shouldn't be there. So these things will not go away. I don't think you can completely forbid these networks, and I think if European regulation or other regulation makes Meta get out of the world, then they're going to be dealt or whatever. We have a technology that is wanted by many people will not go away. Not AI, not big data analytics, not social networks, I don't think. Somebody will offer it, and apparently billions of people want to use it. Apparently. My little view. So I think by raising the questions and by bringing this to your fellows and students, this is the best thing we can do. Let's be aware. Yeah. Everyone for his or her little private box, right? I think, and then take your piece of the cake that you like and don't eat the rest. I do not think that a law can make algorithms more compliant with our ethical standards. I think it takes a long time until we agree on ethical standards. I think when something is an algorithm, it's too late. So it's up to us to understand and yeah, and come on, that's why you guys are in universities. Yeah. Claudia, if we don't think through this, right? Then who else? I mean, whether you bring this to the farmer out there, the non-trained farmer, I don't know, but I think I don't think it's a European law, maybe it's going to be a world law eventually, I don't know, but I think they are not doing illegal stuff. Once they are doing illegal stuff, it's different, but in most cases they do something that a lot of people like and others hate. But, right, I mean, when they start stealing, I can stop, but as long as they don't steal, it's not so easy. So, I'm not sure what the GDPR and others can do there. In my little media world, Europe is not doing good things these days, so I'm semi-happy. What Europe does, or European regulation does, it puts, in our case, 26 countries and all business sectors under the same regulation. Is that good? Even if that regulation is brilliant, you will always have negative examples where it doesn't fit. Right? Is that good or bad news? I don't know.
You know, Claudia, it seems that the concerns that some of the comments and questions that are expressing are precisely the same concerns that we had about 100 years ago, or even more than that, when, for example, this poet and philosopher, the American poet and philosopher Henry David Thoreau said, our technologies are but a better means to reach ends that we have not thought about. So maybe it's not only for us to perfect the technology, but think where do we want this technology to take us? And then when we decide on that...
And where do we expect to take us? Yeah. I think if I just may change to not where do we want it to take us, yeah. Because there every one of us is much too small, even Mr. Zuckerberg is too small. Yeah. But where do we expect it to take us? It will not go away. I'm absolutely convinced it will not go away. So then let's take the good side of it. If we have to face it, let's enjoy it. There's a lot of things we enjoy. I mean, most things we use voluntarily. Right? Not many things we are forced to use. There are some, but very few. So apparently most people like it. Of course, Europeans don't like that the Americans make all the money. Minorities don't like that the so-called majority has a better situation. Maybe from a racism point of view, gender point of view, age point of view, religious point of view, doesn't matter. It's always the minority that feels underrepresented. I don't know how a system would look that does not underrepresent certain groups. Not that I like it, but I think being aware of it is icing on the cake already.
All right, okay.
I get a lot of very nice comments here on the chat, and I appreciate that, each one of them. Thank you very much. Somebody seems to have liked the presentation. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Claudia, for this. It's definitely a lot of insights for us. Thinking about how to take to use IS to have a more human world. I think your considerations to start this conference are just great. Thank you very much.
And then I stop.
And if you allow me, Claudia, if you allow me just to give these guys some announcements in Portuguese, considering that we already have your room there.
I'm
just
done.
to tell them
I'm
what
done.
we'll do in the afternoon. Thank you very much, Claudia.
Thank you very much. I close the meeting here. You have fun
Don't
and
close
thank
it
you
yet.
all for
Don't close
listening.
it yet. Leave it just for a minute here because I want to give them some hints of what we'll be doing in the afternoon. In the afternoon, we'll be splitting among this place here for those who are taking the mini course. Vou falar em português, né? Eles vão fazer um mini curso aqui, as salas A301, 302 e 303 para as outras atividades, né? Agora, na hora do almoço, tem muitas possibilidades aqui perto. O shopping é uma boa possibilidade. Saindo pela outra rua aqui, também já tem uma possibilidade logo na saída, tá? Então, nós estamos bem servidos aí de espaço. Eu só peço, para aqueles que forem participar, eu gostaria que todo mundo participasse da nossa pizza amanhã, do nosso social event, né? A gente teve um patrocinador.
I understand.
You can understand? Okay, no, sorry. Pizza, you understand, I see. Yeah, so sorry, for you it's going to be virtual pizza. And even worse than that, virtual beer. Então, para quem tiver, a cerveja amanhã é por minha conta, porque eu sou cervejeiro artesanal, né? Mas a pizza, cada um vai ter que dar uma contribuição, porque nós tivemos na semana passada, estava tudo resolvido, mas um dos nossos patrocinadores aí, na última hora, deu para trás. Então vai ser R$30 por pessoa. Se alguém não puder participar, principalmente aluno de graduação, às vezes tem dificuldade, fica tranquilo, daí nós damos um jeito de resolver. Mas os outros, pensa lá, nosso, amanhã é R$30, mas a cerveja à vontade, tá bom? Thank you very much, Claudia. Sorry, the beer for you is only when you come physically face to face to Brazil, but we'll think of a way of doing that.
I will come. I really sad that I couldn't come live these days, but I want to come. I've never been there. That's how it started.
Okay, maybe we'll find a way. See ya. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Bye bye.